Greetings from the Emerald Isle, whisky lovers. My name's Al, and this is Whisky Straight. What's up, whisky lovers? Big Al here, and welcome to my whisky den, where you can join me on my spiritual odyssey through the wonderful world of whisky. Now, if you're a returning subscriber, thanks for tuning in again. I really appreciate it. But if it's your first time here, you've come to the right place to hear straight up whisky reviews. So if that's your kind of thing, please get on ahead, hit that subscribe button down below, and while you're at it, also give that bell icon a ring so that you get a notification every time I post a new review. So for now, why not pour yourself a dram, sit back, and let's get into this Glenfarclas 105 Cask Strength. Glenfarclas dates back to 1865 and produces a range of whiskies, all age stated from 10-year-old or right up to 40 years. There's also a family cask strength range and this non-age stated cask strength in the Glenfarclas 105. Now, the eagle-eyed among you will see that Glenfarclas is described as a Highland single malt scotch, which is quite interesting considering that the distillery is actually in Speyside. Now, that's because when it was initially established by John Grant, it was his vision that the distillery would create the finest Highland whisky in the traditional Speyside manner, and the family continues that tradition to this day. Now, when I talk about the journey, the odyssey, this is one of the beautiful things about embarking on that journey. As well as getting to taste many different whiskies, you can also learn a bit of the history and tradition of those whiskies along the way, and that all just adds to the overall whisky experience. While the 105 cask strength is non-age stated, it is rumoured to be somewhere in between the 8 to 10 year range, but we don't really know. But what we do know, the distillery uses Oloroso sherry casks, and this 105 is bottled at a whopping big 60% ABV. So let's get right on with it, get into the nosing and see just what it's all about. Slainte, guys. Right off, you're getting the influence of the sherry cask, but along with it, it's like a perry sherry. There's quite a distinct pear note there, and it's really nice, and it really is quite potent. It does overtake that sherry. As you get a bit more into it, that perry note is still the big aroma there. It's still overshadowing the rest, but it's a bit sweeter now, and also at the same time maybe a bit more sour. It's like a mashed fermented pear, and coming in right in the back of that, there's like a toffee apple aroma going on, and that really does complement the pear thing quite well. Now, overall on the nose, it's quite sweet, and it really doesn't give a hint of just how high a proof we're dealing with here at 60% ABV or 120 proof. You know, it does leave a wee bit up high in the nostrils, like up here, and that lets you know, yes, we're dealing with more than a standard one here, but it just doesn't give you any idea that this is a real big hitter on the proof front. So let's get on with the all-important taste test and see how it fares on the palate. Slainte, guys. Oh, there's a big cherry hit straight up there, and then the pear rushes in right behind it, and unlike on the nose, there is no doubting that this is a real whopper of a proof, and the pear brings with it a nice strong warming spiciness that just comes roaring through, and it quickly covers the palate, and as it covers the palate and moves towards the back of the mouth, the pear, it dries out and it becomes a bit oaky, and it really is quite drying on the palate. Now there's more oak, definitely a bit darker, and again a bit drier coming in there in the second sip. The spice is toned down just a bit, but the pear is still there, and along with the oakiness there's a bit of sherry fruitiness, not just the full-on sherry that you get initially, but a more fruity element along with it. Now that finish, it just goes on and on. It's drying, and those pear and sherry and oak flavours, they really are going to linger for a while. It's going to dry your palate. It's really something that you can sip on, you can set down, and you can just sit back and those flavours will still be there. If you don't like the drying mouthfeel, maybe this isn't for you, but the flavours do really linger. Overall, the best thing about the 105 is probably its price point. You can pick this up for around the mid 40 quid range, which, considering you've got a big whooping 60% ABV here, that's a pretty damn good price for a cask strength. And however, if it was up to me, I'd recommend you pop an extra tenner in the pot and you opt for the Glendronach Cask Strength Batch 7. Slightly lower proof, but in my opinion it just knocks this clean out of the park. So there you go. That was my first taste of a Glenfarclas of any kind, but it's not going to be my last, and I look forward to exploring more of the range, particularly from the age stated, probably starting off with the 10. I'll pop a link to Glenfarclas down below so you can have a look at it yourselves to see what they offer and find out more about the distillery. And please pop a comment yourselves down below to let me know what you think of Glenfarclas in general. I'll also pop a link down below to the guys at the Dram Team. Offer a fabulous subscription service, and it really lets you try things like this to give you a sort of guide as to what they're like, to see whether you want to buy a full bottle or not. I highly recommend them. So that's it until the next time, folks. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I look forward to seeing you again for the next one as we continue our whiskey journey together, the best way to do it. So until then, you know what to do. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and as always, keep on drinking your whiskey the way you like it. Slainte.